In this video, I will be going through the process of defining the structure dimensions that will be input into the inlet catalog. So taking a look at the inlet catalog for a combination inlet, we'll get an idea of what parameters I need to locate for this type of inlet. So I need the structure width and length. I also need some curb information and the grade information. So what I've done in my spreadsheet is I have included a column for each one of those parameters that I need. And I do it this way for a couple of reasons. One reason is it's nice documentation when you're finished, and sometimes easier to check if you want to give this to the hydraulics team to double check your assumptions. Another reason is sometimes when we look at the details, we don't have a clear-cut structure size or a grate size, and they're going to be a function of some sort of a variable, and typically that has to do with the pipe diameter or the pipe span. So what we can do with Excel is we can build a formula in Excel and then fill it down for the different sizes, and we can come up with these different parameters a lot faster than using a calculator for each individual one. Let's start with the structure width and length. When we're thinking of a combination inlet, the width is going to refer to the amount that extends into the roadway, and then the length is going to be the length along the road. So right now we're looking at a side view where we've got 2 feet for the width, and I can verify that by looking at the structure this way. So my width is going to be this 2 feet dimension, and then my length is going to be 3 feet. Now looking at the 3x4, this is slightly different. This is going to be my width still here, but it's not going to be 2 on the interior. It's actually going to be 3 because I have 6 inches on either side of this dashed line. And then same thing here, my inside or my length is going to be 4 feet. And if I scroll down, that'll be more clear. So I'm not going to use the beveled portion. I'm actually going to use the bottom portion and what those dimensions are. So for this inlet, my width is going to be 3 feet and my length is going to be 4. So I'll continue looking at each drawing to verify those dimensions and finish out my lengths and widths. And now I'm going to move over to my grate widths and lengths. These are all going to use a type B frame and grate. So I'm looking at the dimensions of the grate. What I want to consider is the area that is going to be able to take in water. So I don't necessarily want to include the frame in this. And I'm just going to use these dimensions here. So for my width, it's going to be the 17 3/4 of an inch, and then for the length, it's going to be 35 1/2 inches. So I'm going to fill that down. That's going to be the case for all of these type B inlets that use that same type B frame and grate. And I'm going to convert that over to feet. Now I want to focus on the curb opening. Let's look at the height first. So the curb height is going to refer to this dimension here, and then this is going to be the curb length. For my curb height, most of the time this is clearly dimensioned for you, and sometimes you'll have to do a little bit of figuring. So like in this case, I'm going to say that I know this point is 2 inches below this point, and then referring over to here, I do have this dimension from there to there. So I'm going to take this dimension and add in a couple more inches to get me to this point, and then I'll subtract out this top piece, which I can see is going to be 3 inches. So once I do that, I'm going to see that my curb height is going to be 4 1/2 inches, and then the opening length is actually going to be the same as my grate. So the actual opening is going to be from here to there, 35 1/2 inches. So that's going to be my opening and height length for all of these different types, because regardless of the box size, the top is going to be the same. And now I'll look and see if I have local depression. So in this picture here, DE is going to be the slope of my roadway. And then if I have a depressed gutter, it's going to look something like this, where I'm going from A to D. And then if I have local depression at the inlet, then it's going to drop down where we see this CB. So the height of my local depression is going to be this I dimension, and then the width of my local depression is going to be the F dimension. An example of this we could see here in section CC. So I'm going to have a 2-inch gutter depression where my normal gutter line is going to drop down 2 inches here, and then for that width it's going to be 1 foot and 8 inches. Now in the case of the type B inlet, we're going to see that gutter depression of 0.04 feet, and then for the width it's going to be from here to there. So if I know my grate is 17 3/4 of an inch wide, and then I have this dimension here which gives me an additional 8 inches, this is going to be about 2 feet for that depression width. Right, next let's take a look at the throat type and the throat angle. So I have a picture here showing that, where we can either have horizontal, vertical, or inclined. And in this case, we're going to go with vertical. And that means we'll have a throat angle of 90. So now I have all the information that I'll need to input these combination inlets.